Hi everyone, Steve Wyss here, joined by Kevin Harper for the latest cricket IPL match previews, and we're at the postseason now, and Qualifier 1 is going to be taking place between Mumbai Indians and rising Pune Supergiant on Tuesday. Now, at this stage of the season, it's all about getting to the final. It's a little bit complicated in a way, but the winner of this match, it's quite simple, makes the final of the IPL, which takes place in Hyderabad. Is that right, Kev?
Yeah, it is, Steve. Yeah, I mean, the best way of describing it might be that this is a quarter-final, and the winner bypasses the semi-final. The loser goes into the semi-final. So both sides have two shots at getting to the final, but whoever wins this will get there straight away.
Now, I'm not actually sure if this is by default or whether they actually earned the right, but Mumbai Indians are going to be on home territory here, Kev. How much of a big factor is that?
Yeah, I mean, it's an advantage, isn't it? It's one of the benefits of being a major city, really. I mean, you look at where the rest of the tournament's held: Mumbai, Bangalore, Hyderabad. Excuse me. They're all in big cities, aren't they? So, you know, that's a major advantage. It just so happens that Mumbai are in this game. Nobody knew that was going to be the case before the tournament, but they are, and you would think it would be a significant advantage. That said, Pune is not far from Mumbai. In fact, this is a local derby. It's the last time they'll ever meet as well, unless they meet in the final on Sunday, because obviously Pune go out of business at the end of this tournament. So there's everything on it, really. Pune have won both meetings in the regular season this year. So Mumbai will be hoping to break that curse. I know to my cost that sides don't always beat sides 3 times on the trot in one season. So maybe that's with Mumbai as well, but they'll certainly enjoy home advantage, that's for sure.
Yeah, just looking at the overall league table for the IPL, Mumbai Indians won 10, lost 4. Obviously, 2 of those defeats were to RPS, which was perhaps a surprise because they were playing the Pune Supergiant, certainly at least on one of those occasions when the Supergiant were not playing particularly well. Is there any particular reasons you can think of why this has been a poor matchup for Mumbai, or have they simply just not performed in those 2 games?
I'm not sure, to be honest, Steve. I mean, the obvious thing would be that Pune are the kind of lesser of the 2 in terms of the rivalry. They're the smaller side, aren't they? Mumbai are giants all throughout India. Everyone knows about them. Everyone, I dare say, wants to knock them off their perch as well. So maybe there's that. Maybe there's that to do with it. Really and truly, though, Mumbai should have won the first game, shouldn't they? And they would have done if they hadn't dropped Steve Smith. Smith went on to score 80 odd, didn't he, in next to no time, but he was dropped, and I can't remember who dropped it, but it was an absolute sitter on the boundary, wasn't it? They might even have dropped him twice. So had they taken their chances, they would have won that game. That game was in Pune, and I guess you could argue that they should have won the reverse meet in Mumbai too. I think it was Ben Stokes, wasn't he, who delivered a fantastic either last over or penultimate over, went for something like 2 or 3 when he bowled a series of slower balls that nobody could get a hold of, and they lost narrowly, Mumbai. So you could argue they could easily have won both these games, but hey, that's T20 cricket, isn't it?
Yeah, Ben Stokes obviously has been a massive part for RPS this IPL season. Some might say he's kind of got them into these playoffs, really. But they're going to have to do without him now, aren't they? First of all, do you see them winning the IPL without Ben Stokes? And secondly, in this particular match, is it simply too much of a loss to overcome?
Well, to answer your first question, no, I don't see them winning the IPL without him. But I guess to answer the second one, it's an advantage that he didn't really do an awful lot on Sunday. You know, that Pune came through against the Kings 11, didn't they? Oh, okay, the Kings 11 pretty much sacked it off. They were terrible, weren't they? But Ben Stokes didn't bat, and he only bowled a couple of overs that took no wickets. It was Shardul Thakur, and the kind of support cast would be the wrong word, but the kind of more unknown players that really stepped up and was counted. You know, Jadev and Adkat again had another massive day, and things like that. And they're going to need those players if they're going to win this game, particularly those 2 bowlers, Thakur and Adkat, because obviously we all know particularly in the playoffs. You can have all the batsmen in the world, but it's the bowlers that will win these games. The winning side of the IPL will be the team that from here bowls the best this week. And if that's going to happen for Pune, then Inadkat, Thakur, Zampa, et al. Are going to have to up their game.
Now, what sort of match are you expecting here, Kev? I mean, obviously, knowing what your two bets are for the match, the first one is going to be over 46.5 boundaries. Suggests that you think it's going to be high scoring, but to what exact extent of sort of scoring are you anticipating? You know, boundary sixes or what?
Yeah, I would imagine it would be high scoring, Steve. I always think that this is the game of all of them that's got the potential to be the most obviously high scoring. The reason I say that is because obviously the team that's batting first, it doesn't matter too much if they make a complete pig zero of it, i.e. they're not out of the tournament, they'll have another chance. So they can bat with that little bit of freedom. And in the second innings, there's, even if a team's like 4 down early, there's no point in, scratching around and protecting net run rate or anything like that. If you're going to go down here, you may as well go down slapping it up to all parts because you've got another chance on Friday. That's the beauty of this game. That's the whole idea of getting into the top 2 so that you've earned the right to have these 2 opportunities. So with that in mind, batsmen can bat with a little more freedom in this game than what we're going to see in the 3 games that follow it. Obviously, we saw in the last game that the wicket at the Wankhede is absolutely lovely. They played on the international strip that day. I can't believe for any reason that they're not going to play on the international strip here. They'll obviously want to showcase these next 4 matches all around the world as the highlight of the IPL. So much in keeping with the start of the tournament where we waxed lyrical about how the wickets were going to be good as that showcase occasion. I'm expecting exactly that again here. And a good wicket on this ground, you're looking at sort of matches usually going in the vicinity of 50 boundaries. There were plenty more than that in the last game here when Kings 11 were in town, weren't they? And I'm expecting just as many again, particularly with Ben Stokes not around to bowl his 4 overs. There was something in the vicinity of 40 boundaries. I think it was 41 boundaries when these 2 met here last time. And that was a game with roughly 160 against 155. But on that occasion, Mumbai's batting had just got into that sticky range, but they've come out of that now, haven't they? They look a real crack-hot outfit with the bat. So I'm expecting them to put up more boundaries, especially with no Stokes bowling 4 overs at them. But I fancy Pune will find plenty of boundaries too. So, I like over 46.5 boundaries here. I'm kind of expecting the scores to be 175 plus in this one.
Yeah, that's your main bet for the game, over 46.5 boundaries. Your second selection is going to be in the top rising Pune Supergiant batsman market. And you're going with Dan Christian in this instance, Kev. Why do you think he might be a decent price today?
I'm speculating in many ways, Steve. Someone's got to play Ben Stokes' role. Now, obviously, first things first, we don't know who's going to come in and replace Ben Stokes. They've got 2 options as I see it. They either bring a batsman into the side, in which case that may well be Usman Khawaja if they want to play an overseas batsman, as you think they would if they bring a batsman in, or they bring an all-rounder into the team. And now, bearing in mind that at some point they're going to have to replace Stokes' 4 overs, and the fact that there isn't really another bowler in the side other than Steve Smith, I'm kind of expecting them to go down the all-rounder route. So I would imagine with his experience, it'll be someone like Rajat Bhatia who comes into the side, but he's not going to bat up the innings. So I just wonder if they'll swap Dan Christian and say to him, you be Ben Stokes, and then Rajat Bhatia comes in and he's Dan Christian, so to speak, in which case Christian may well go up the order and bat 4 or 5, just like Ben Stokes was doing earlier in the competition. And if he does that, then 12 to 1's a big price, isn't it? A big price to top score. I think you might even be able to get bigger at certain other bookmakers as well, actually. And, if I've got that right, he would be a decent price. He's got 9 half centuries and a century in his T20 career, Christian. So he can bat when he's given the opportunity. We can largely ignore his IPL form this season because he's been coming in at 7 and 8, sort of 17th, 18th over and having to throw his wicket away. But he can bat. He can bat sensibly. He's not just a slogger. But obviously, if the need arises for him to slog it, he can do that too. I've just a feeling that's the route they'll go down. And that's where I'm kind of edging my bets. If I've got it completely wrong and Khawaja comes into the side and Christian bats at 7, well, then I've done my dough. But I've not been wrong too often when I've thought about these tactical things throughout the competition. Admittedly, I've been mighty unlucky with a few picks that have come in where I've expected them to, and either someone's already delivered or that person's done something crazy and not delivered. But I've just a feeling he's worth a go here, Christian. It's the kind of game where there isn't too much pressure on him, where Australians tend to deliver. It's the ones when there's bags of pressure on that they might falter.
Yeah, you can actually get as big as 18-1 on Dan Christian. That's at Stan James at the time of recording this podcast. Now let's just talk about the top Mumbai batting market, and plenty of contenders here that you could go with. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Anyone you'd lean towards?
Well, it is tricky, isn't it? Because as I hinted earlier, they've just all suddenly found form again, haven't they? Lendl Simmons has got a couple of innings under his belt, hasn't he? One or two others have as well. And also, because they changed their lineup in the last game, we don't actually know what their batting lineup's going to be like. I mean, I must admit, I initially thought that Lendl Simmons at 4-1 was, a price that was kind of asking to be backed. And I wouldn't necessarily say it isn't. Maybe the real value is Ambati Rayudu if he plays. If he plays, he's going to bat in the middle order. He'll probably play instead of Rana, so it might well be that he bats 3. 6-1 on a guy who bats 3 would be a big price, but of course, you are hoping that he plays. I mean, obviously, you'll get your money back if he doesn't, but at the same time, if you're having a bet, you probably want a bit of interest in the game, don't you? So if he plays, I think he's a big price. He hit 60 or 70 odd last time, didn't he? And he's probably battered Tiwari to pieces after the near run out. So I would imagine he'll have a point to prove as well. So yeah, 6-1 looks a fair price there if he plays.